everyone. I'm really just talking to myself, aren't I? But it has been proven harder to make these videos. I was thinking about it yesterday and the day before yesterday. I think it's because the videos were more me kind of like walking around life and inspiration, cute stuff like this. And now since I'm hardcore core coding, it's just the kind of like the I don't want to use the term momentum or flow, but the energy shifted, and that's probably something I need to work on, right? Because ultimately I have to be able to compartmentalize throughout the day and express different kinds of energies to the different kinds of things that I have. So that's fun, or at the very least fun to consider, because the things that I'm learning when it comes to the code are are just I don't know beyond things I would consider. Because in a way, like when you're learning something new, all you're seeing is the road you're on or whatever where it takes you. But then as you center it around it, it kind of like expands. And so in fact, so right now it's because like we're working more with code and we're like considering different ways to do things and just kind of like building with different software. Like the whole thing is looking different. And it's fun. So more focused to the front end side and how basically browsers function and how your computer gets turned on. Ooh, good shit. But today's video is confidence the better connection with ourselves, the one that opens our presence. Genuinely, this is it. Is confidence the better connection with ourselves, the one that opens our presence? Funny thing, man, and I don't know, I'm feeling it. Writing these a long time ago means whatever this is, like the minute it's written down, it starts being processed. Like, because anytime you write something down, your mind takes note of it without you. So you'll start seeing it whether you're consciously looking at it or not. You start seeing it in your outside world. So something as beautiful as this written down. It's like, is confidence the better connection with ourselves? The one that opens our presence. Takes me back to a video I did once about basically awkwardness and how when almost the start of anything is one of those, like it's not that you're bad, it's you're doing it awkwardly. And I feel you're bad at it as a shallow outlook because all they're seeing are the results, but nobody's actually looking at you. They're kind of looking at your work. So awkwardness is the initial stages of like doing something. It's funny this now my mind is saying like confidence right now is kind of like laying in a good spot because I feel like my understanding of just in general programming and how I'm building my platform is expanding from a new perspective, a completely new perspective. And I feel that's how you level up. It's a new perspective that includes things that you didn't before. And suddenly, anytime you're doing something, you're doing it with like that much stuff in your arsenal. But you get exposed to these things before you're able to like see them connected to each other. And so back to the awkwardness story, like anytime you're starting something, that's the awkwardness stage. If you are basically you're doing it awkwardly, but it's coming out bad because it's not coming out good, right? And so that looking at it, what's coming out is more of a shallow outlook because that means that people that are seeing, they're only seeing the outcome. They're not really looking at you. So instead of looking at an outcome being bad, look at yourself as being awkward about it. And awkwardness is the initial stages of figuring out what this shit is. As well, I reflected on my coding journey because I remember at one point I was just like reading about white papers about concepts, and it was completely beyond me, right? Because these people are talking about shit that they've been involved in for years. But I had no idea what they're writing about, but I enjoyed like understanding that there's some architecture involved, that they think of things differently. Until I understood enough to be like, okay, so how do they do these connections? How do they build on top of these concepts? How do these people kind of like explore these things? And as I did it, I awkwardly stepped into programming. And I was awkward about programming for a while. It's been 2 years. For the first time, I feel confident. And not confident in me being able to write code, but my confidence is being able to understand what I need to do and figure out a way to do this. Because most of the times, like I read, but what I read is just kind of whatever I get out of reading is only for the sake of like test, just like testing something and building whatever it is that I'm building. Right now, it feels like anytime I read something, I'm able to understand it and understand like where to put it in the like map of all the things that I'm doing. And I feel this is confidence. It's like I'm literally reading this. I feel this is confidence, or at the very least, this is basically me creating this connection with with what I'm doing, which is at this moment basically programming, computer science, entrepreneurship, whatever you want, whatever it is that I'm creating the connection with. And what it's effectively doing is I'm no longer trying to convince whatever it is that I'm doing that I'm interested. I'm no longer trying to convince it to that I am giving her attention. And partially because I didn't know how to give her attention back then. And it's funny to look at it this way because I genuinely wanted to get better at programming, but like sometimes I would reread a paper or two papers like three, four times just because I could sense that I was just reading it for the sake as I'm reading it. Like I'm not reading it because I'm reading it. I'm reading it because I want something out of it. So I read enough and I fuck off. And that works to a certain degree because ultimately there's always like the end result that you can brute force your way to. But a refined art, a refined artistic approach would give it more attention. And it feels like our lack of understanding normally gets excited maybe over the things that we get to be like, ah, this is it, this is what they're talking about. Okay, but you didn't actually learn something new. You just basically filled a gap on your road from point A to point Z. You kind of like added an extra spot or an extra dot because we're moving. And from this perspective, that once you actually are comfortable with that road to go from point A to point Z, then I don't know if you become more susceptible or whatever it is you're doing starts giving you the attention that you want. And the reason I say it this way is because it's weird. Like before, I used to read stuff and be like, oh, of course, that's yeah, it makes sense, and I move on. But right now, the bits and pieces of like documentation, explanations, kind of like come out and like not just fill a gap. They just call on different things and kind of like try to bundle themselves together with a certain image in my head that I get to look at differently or test or research some more things. Because back then I'd like read papers to understand something, and now I have this one thing that I'm searching for different ways that people use it in order for me to kind of like explore it. That's why I say like I think after the awkward stage, you get to a point where you I don't want to say comfortable, but at the very least like aware of what it is that you know, and you probably can only see them when in times of frustration because like this worked before but it's not working now. And I think that's when perspective changes. It's a direct reflection on something that you know but isn't working. Oof, this just got heavier. Because ultimately, if you're taking steps, what you're doing is basically just taking a step and looking forward to the next step. But at one point, moving becomes harder. So you have to look back. You have to consider why whatever you were doing before is not working anymore. And the minute you do that, it changes the relationship between you and it. And what effectively it does is it allows you to kind of expand to its surroundings and maybe refine how to approach it. Do you think that's where confidence stems? The entirety of this conversation, specifically because, like, confidence is the better connection with ourselves. And I wrote here the one that opens our presence. Because ultimately, what's different from the effort that I was putting 3 years ago, for example, in my journey of programming and coding and like entrepreneurship and all that shit? What's the difference between that 3 years ago where I am, where I was, and the effort I'm putting today? Because it's the same effort, and the only thing that's different is experience. But in a way, this fucking video is spot on. Because confidence is a better connection of ourselves, a better understanding of how we do things and what are the things that we're working with. And by the end of it, the one that opens the present, I wanted to do this. Because ultimately, once you're more confident about something, you're a lot more intentional about it. And suddenly all of you is inside. It's inside it. Whatever it is you're doing. You're giving it time. You're giving it its own time. It's a video.